If my life depended on it and I had to make $1 million in 2026 selling digital products, there's only one digital product I built. And it's not because it's trendy and it's not because it's like the popular thing that's going on right now. There's one digital product that I would trust my life in if I had to make $1 million in 2026, and I'm going to walk you through that in this video. If you're new here, my name is Chin Gregory, and on this channel, I share everything that I've learned from helping creators, experts, coaches, and brands build digital products that crack $1 million in revenue. Courses, e-com, affiliate offers, coaching, consulting, you name it, I've built it. Now, I'm not making any income claims. I'm not saying that by watching a YouTube video, you're going to make $1 million. Most people who watch YouTube videos don't make any money from the stuff that they implement. What I am going to do is I'm just going to share with you my experiences and those of the brands that I've worked with. I drop banger videos twice a week, so if you like the sound of that, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, welcome back. Let's dive in. So, getting to $1 million in 2026, if my life depended on it, most people are going to be thinking about what type of offer, what type of business model. I'm really thinking in terms of what can scale quickly. And there's 4 criteria I'm looking at. Number 1, speed to revenue. How quickly can I get the revenue that I'm looking for? 2, lifetime value. What is the value of every single customer and every transaction that I'm making? Scalability, like can this model actually get me to $1 million without too much effort? And number 3, bottlenecks. Like I need to be able to plan for what might go wrong. So with that criteria in place, let's break down the 2 big buckets, low ticket and high ticket. So when I say low ticket, I'm going to group mid ticket in here as well. What I'm really talking about is information packaged into a digital product and sold for less than $2. So you're thinking $7 PDFs, $27 to $97 mini courses, even all the way up to like $297. Stuff that people will buy as an impulse, and you don't need to get them into some type of conversation, whether it's in the DMs or on a sales call, in order to close them on that purchase. And typically what you're looking at in terms of a funnel, you've got attention, which is going to be either through ads or organic, and that attention drives people over to a landing page. Now, on that landing page is where you will have the sales material that pitches the digital product. Occasionally, you might have the landing page and the checkout combined, but once they've gone through the sales material, they go over to the checkout where they can enter their credit card details, they convert, and they become a customer. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Occasionally, you can combine landing page and checkout together, but that is the funnel. So when evaluating low and mid ticket, let's have a look at some of the pros and cons. First off, automated sales. And this is by far the number 1 reason why you'd want to go low ticket. Because of the way the funnel is designed, your sales are basically automatic. Once you've built it, sit back, relax, do whatever you want. You're going to be getting sales coming in as long as you're driving traffic. Building relationships. Now, this is one that a lot of people don't really focus on. I don't realize how important it is. With where we are in 2026 and beyond, the most important relationship that you're going to build as a business owner is that with your customers. And one of the really good things about low ticket offers is because of the price point, it converts strangers into customers at a faster rate than almost any other offer that you can create. And once you've changed that relationship from lead or subscriber or follower or into a customer, that makes everything different. When I look at email marketing, for example, like I'll have a brand or creator or an influencer who brings me in to help get more revenue from their email marketing. Almost always, the brands and the influencers and the creators who aren't doing as well from email, when I look at the composition of their email list, you can see a massive difference. The people that are crushing it, their email lists are made up of predominantly buyers, even if it's somebody who's bought something that's as little as $1. Whereas the people that struggle are those who have their email list built up of giveaways or freebie seekers or sometimes even really poor lead magnets. That relationship where someone becomes a customer and they actually hand over money and they pay for something that you've created, that changes everything. And you want to create as much as possible a list and a community of buyers and customers. And that's one of the great things about low ticket. It changes that relationship a lot quicker than something like high ticket. Low ticket products really give you true scale because most of the time it's going to be something that can be delivered digitally, which means that there's no real additional effort or time required for you to sell more of them. They're easy to produce with AI and with some of the structures that I teach my clients. You can build a world-class low-ticket offer in just an afternoon. And then finally, minimal fulfillment, right? Once you've built it, it's good to go, right? Other than some customer service here and there, but most of the time, you're really not going to have much fulfillment as the creator once you've built that low-ticket product. But obviously, there are going to be some cons as well. It needs volume. And where I see most people get tripped up when it comes to low ticket offers is they don't really think about how much volume that it requires. You need a lot of volume to get to $1 million selling $67 products or selling $100 products, even $200 products. The amount of volume you need to crack $1 million is way more than if you had a higher price product. Another con is the low consumption rate. If you're trying to teach someone, or if you're trying to help your customers transform from a situation they're in right now into a better version of filling the blank. You want them to be able to consume the content that you create. The problem with low ticket offers is that because people don't pay a lot of money for them, they typically don't consume them. I mean, look at your own life. Like, how many digital products have you got, or PDFs that you paid $7 for, $27 for, that are just sitting on your hard drive? When you look at the data, and I'm in a privileged position, I get to see a lot of the data from the brands that I work with, from my clients. Products that are below $200-300, the consumption rate is significantly lower than products that are above. And so if people aren't consuming your stuff, you're not going to be able to help them. You're not going to be able to indoctrinate them. So that's a problem when you don't charge people a lot. They don't consume it as much. And if the consumption is lower, you're going to have a less chance of building that relationship that you want with that individual. It's also got unforgiving metrics. Whether you're running ads or you're doing organic, you've got to really have your numbers dialed in. What are your conversion rates? What are your CTRs? What are your cost per impression? If you're paying for ads, what is the customer acquisition cost? Like, you've got to have your numbers dialed in, because if you don't, the swings can be really, really big and you can lose a lot of money very quickly. And then finally, it needs skill to convert. If you are taking strangers onto a landing page and you're trying to turn them into customers at a low ticket price, you need to have skill to convert that, because all of the conversion happens on the landing page. Whereas when we get to high ticket, which I'll talk to in just a sec, you can have more of the conversion process happen inside of a conversation. But because of the way that these products are structured, the conversion has to happen with copy, right? So you've got to either have a really strong personal brand, or you've got to have really, really good copy skills in order to take that stranger and convert them into a customer. Now, just because we've got these cons, it doesn't mean that I don't like low ticket products. My first ever $1 million generated from digital products was off of the back of a $7 PDF. Now, when I work with creators and influencers, specifically celebrities, we typically will launch for them a lower ticket item, because celebrities are really hard to deal with. A lot of the time, they don't want to do more work than is required. So once you've created the course, because low ticket doesn't have any more fulfillment, celebrities love it. So if I'm launching a digital product for an influencer celebrity, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be of the low ticket variety. So low ticket offers really do have their place. So what about high ticket? And with high ticket, this is where people are paying you $2,000 plus to solve a serious business or life problem, or get them a desired outcome. And that's where you will have your coaching, your consulting, your agency type offers. The price point typically means that there's going to be some type of access involved. That access is either going to be coaching, the access is going to be some type of service, but there's going to be some level of access involved because of the price point that you're paying. The funnel still has a similar amount of steps, but it's slightly different. We still start with attention and traffic, so social media, ads. But then instead of taking them to a landing page, you're sending them to some kind of demonstration. And that demonstration is where you demonstrate to your audience that you can actually solve their problem or get them the desired outcome. This can be on a video sales letter, this can be on YouTube, this can be on a long form sales page. Wherever it is, the medium doesn't matter as much as opposed to the function. The function is to demonstrate the expertise. Once that happens, it goes into a conversation. Now, for the most part, unless you are in a very, very specific circumstances, any high ticket offer is going to require some type of conversation in order to convert the person who's watched the demonstration into an actual client. Now, this conversation typically happens on sales calls, but it can also happen through DM as well. Like, I close a lot of my high ticket deals through DMs. I've stopped doing sales calls. So the conversation doesn't have to be a sales call, but there has to be some conversation, because people are going to have questions. And typically when someone's handing over a large amount of money, they want to talk to the individual. They want to get to know the person a little bit more, and they want to know that they're making a safe purchase. Once that conversation's happened, it becomes a client. So a slightly different format in the way that the funnel works. So what are some of the pros and cons of high ticket offers? Well, first off, higher margins. You will typically get a much higher quality of digital product when it's high ticket, because the higher margin allows you to invest in it. Quicker income. It's just math. If you're trying to get to $1 million, the more you charge per transaction, the faster you're going to get there. Validation. And this is one that's not talked about often enough. A lot of the clients that I work with, experts, coaches, I can see their brilliance and I can see how good they are, what they do. But a lot of them suffer from imposter syndrome. And when you charge someone a lot of money, and when that person speaks to you, they've gone through your demonstration, and they decide, hey, I want to give you 10 grand to solve my problem, or I want to give you 10 grand to work with you. It really starts to chip away at the imposter syndrome that a lot of us get. I had massive imposter syndrome when I first started, but the more people that gave me a lot of money, it made me start thinking, well, if these people all trust me with their hard-earned cash, that must mean that the stuff that I'm doing is at least resonating, and it must mean that they think that my stuff is worth it. And so that validation starts to remove a lot of the imposter syndrome, which, frankly, it never completely goes away, but it does do a job of like, hey, my stuff must be good, right? If someone's going to give me $10,000 to solve their problem, right? It gives me that idea that I'm at least moving in the right direction. Better customers. When I look at the type of customers I get from low ticket offers versus the type of customers I get from high ticket. And I've done both, right? I've made millions of dollars selling low ticket, made millions of dollars selling high ticket. When people pay you more money, or the more money people pay you, you just get a much better customer in terms of what they require from you, in terms of how motivated they are, in terms of the type of individual they are when they actually put in the work. Let's take email marketing, for example. If I map out an SOP of the exact steps you need to take to get clients out of email. If I go to someone that spent $67 on a low ticket offer and I gave them that SOP versus me going to someone that spent 16K on a high ticket offer and I gave them that SOP as well, I guarantee you that the person who spent 16K will execute on that SOP within the first 24 to 48 hours because there's more money on the line, but they're a better type of individual when it comes to actual execution. The person that only spent $67, they're going to they're going to be confused, they're going to ask questions, which is fine. They're at a different stage of their journey, but you just got to be aware that you just get completely different type of customers. And if you goal is to work with the best of the best, typically the more money you charge, the better type of customer you're going to get. And then deeper relationships. When you charge more, and this kind of ties into the higher margins, that allows you to spend more time per customer, which again, just comes back down to the math. If someone's giving you 10 grand, you can afford to spend more time with that individual versus someone who's only paying you a couple of hundred. And when you get to spend more time with them, it deepens the relationship. Whether you are solving a business problem for them or you're solving a personal problem, you get to learn a lot more of the nuances about this particular individual's issue, right? You get to learn a lot more about what this particular individual is dealing with. And because of that, you can have a much deeper relationship, which lends itself to a much deeper relationship. Now let's talk about cons. Now the first two cons, hard to scale, major bottlenecks, these are more historical, right? These are things that were wrong or hard to do with high ticket offers previously. But as you're going to see later on in this video where I dive into some of the new changes that are happening with AI, these cons aren't really that important anymore, especially if you know how to get past them. Like harder to scale. When scaling a high ticket offer, because of the operational complexity required in closing a high ticket individual and then also scaling the fulfillment, it became hard to scale. And you typically would reach a bottleneck around whatever your delivery capacity was. For me, it always seems to come around the 60 to 100 clients part. So as I started getting close to 60 clients, I started noticing there was a lot more time and effort spent on operations, a lot more time and effort spent on management than actually spending with the clients. Not necessarily the case anymore, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Operational bias. If you are running a high ticket offer, you've got to be good at operations. If you look at the education businesses that are built on high ticket offers that are doing the most amount of revenue, like the $30, $50 million businesses, they all have extremely tight operations. If you can't handle operations, or if you're not good at operations, or you don't bring in people to manage the operational complexity of a high ticket offer, it's going to start to break very quickly. It's niche specific. Can't get around this one. There are some niches where people simply will not pay you $10,000, $20,000, $5,000, whatever it is, to solve their problem, right? And that's just a structural issue of certain niches. And I've worked with people who were trying to sell high ticket to certain niches, and I was like, you can't sell that person 25% of their income, their yearly income, for a high ticket offer. That's not going to do that. That's going to create a lot of friction. That's something that is very hard for you to get around. And occasionally we'll look at some niches, especially when I work with people that do a lot of B2C. We just look at the niche and say, you know what? We probably could sell high ticket, but the important thing is managing friction. If something's difficult, then it tells you that you shouldn't be going in that direction. And if you try and sell high ticket to a niche that just doesn't support it, you might get some sales, but you're never going to crack $1 million doing that. And then finally, your stuff has to be good. You may have experienced this. I've definitely experienced this, but there's a lot of people out there who are charging high ticket prices for stuff that is just rubbish, right? It's rubbish, it's crap, it's garbage, it's not worth it. Your stuff has to be good. And you've got a moral obligation to make sure that if someone hands you money, someone gives you, 5, 10, 20,000 of their hard-earned cash, you want to make sure that the stuff that you create is really good. And if you don't think that your stuff is good, maybe you're a beginner or maybe you're just getting started, don't go and do a high ticket offer. And I see this happening all the time where you've got people teaching, their marketplace, or they're teaching experts, or they're teaching, someone that wants to make money online how to launch a high ticket offer without even being an expert or without even being able to deliver on the promise. That's bad, right? That's just immoral. You can't charge someone 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand. A, if your stuff isn't good, or B, you don't know what you're talking about. So it's really important to me that if you're going to do high ticket, your stuff has to be good. So if we kind of take a step back and look at the two, we've got low ticket that's volume heavy, and we've got high ticket that's bottleneck heavy. Given those two options, which one would I rely on to save my life if I had to make $1 million selling digital products in 2026? Dun, dun, dun. So here's the verdict. I would pick high ticket, but with a slight twist. So it's something called high ticket recurring. And so the way the high ticket recurring works is that you get an upfront fee, right? Sometimes called an onboarding fee. But then you also charge a monthly recurring fee for ongoing access, coaching, and support. That is what I would rely on to save my life if I had to make $1 million in 2026 selling digital products. So what that would look like operationally is that you would charge anything from 3 to 7K upfront. That's very similar to what you would expect from a high ticket offer. And in that, you are going to either customize the problem to them or give them access to something or develop the plan that they're going to use. And then you would charge $500 to $2,000 a month ongoing for the support, the continuing access, and for the coaching and consulting. So what I love about high ticket recurring as a model is I can get to that $1 million with only 50 to 100 clients. But it's not just that. You get the fast cash from the upfront fee. But because you've got the recurring, you always have this predictable level of revenue coming in, right? You never start the month from zero. One of the hardest things about a high ticket offer is that every single month, you got to go out and get new clients, right? You got to go out and speak to more people. You've got to go out and spend more money on ads in order to hit your target of the number of clients that you need. With high ticket recurring, you can cover all of your expenses and burn within the first 2 to 3 days of the month. And the level of comfort and the level of stability that gives you as a business owner when you know that, hey, by the 3rd of March, by the 4th of April, by the 2nd of January, I've covered all of my expenses for the entire month because I've got recurring revenue coming in, it changes the entire game. And so not just from the ability to get to the $1 million mark, but from the ability that also makes life so much easier when you've got this stable recurring income every single month. Now, as I mentioned before, the biggest objection with high ticket has always been the two major bottlenecks: delivery and sales calls. When trying to scale a high ticket offer, I need to do more sales calls or I need to have more conversations. Conversations will either happen on the phone or in DMs, but either way, somebody has to have that conversation. And so as you're scaling, there's only a finite amount of time that each person has. Yes, DM conversations are easier to do than sales calls, but there's still a finite number of them that you can do. Then it comes to delivery, right? At some point, if you're going to give your clients a very good experience, a fantastic world-class experience, the delivery and fulfillment needs to be there. As you scale, you require more people in order to be able to give them that delivery. And those are always the two major bottlenecks: hitting a ceiling in terms of how many clients you can take on and hitting a ceiling in terms of how many conversations you can have. And so AI has completely solved this. And if you've spoken to me, or if you go and look at some of my old content, I used to say, hey, I don't like high ticket because I hate the scaling element of it. Because I've scaled high ticket offers, and as soon as I got to a point between 60 and 100 clients, I just hated it because it was really, really hard to scale and just not the type of business that I wanted to be involved with. But recently, since AI, scaling these offers has become so much easier because you can now, number one, in terms of delivery, right, you can build an AI coach instead of hiring real coaches. And I spent a lot of time on this. Essentially, what I've done for my clients is that I've built Chin AI. Chin AI is a custom AI coach that's trained on all of my knowledge and all of my SOPs, everything from the last 10 years and over $64 million generated in income from all of the stuff that I've put together. So first off, you can actually build AI assistant coaches. I've built one called Chin AI, and it is trained on all of my SOPs, all of my calls, all of the processes and frameworks that I've used to generate income for myself and my clients based on every digital product that I ever created. And previously, if I had to scale, I'd either have to train new coaches or I'd have to have so many calls in my calendar that it just got unsustainable. Or I'd have to charge so much for the calls to make it worth my time, which wasn't in the best interest of my clients. With a custom AI assistant coach, now my clients can essentially get access to my brain, my thinking, my frameworks 24/7 as if they were actually booking a call with me. So if they need someone to look at their sales letter, if they need someone to look at their email, if they need help planning a launch, they can go to Chin AI, they can text him, they can email him, they can send him a voice note, and he would answer as if I was answering on a call. Then we can just have a quick 10, 15-minute catch up and we can go through the stuff that Chin AI has created. Any online educator can do this today, right? You can build AI assistant coaches. I mean, this is something we show my clients to do in my private program, Net Life. But you can build AI assistant coaches to essentially replicate what you or your coaches would have done. Then we've also got AI software that can manage all of the DM conversations. This one was an absolute game changer for me. And initially, when AI first came out, I didn't really trust it because I would look at some of the conversations that it was having and it was obvious it was AI. Now, Someone can come into my DMs, whether that's on Instagram or Facebook, or even send an email. My custom AI bot will have a conversation with this person. They will qualify them, they'll find out what their problems are, they'll find out what they're trying to achieve, and then they will sort them out based on where they are currently right now and where they're trying to get to. The entire conversation that I used to have in DMs, the AI assistant, the AI chatbot can now have that conversation and can just alert me when the person's ready to go or they are very close and need that final push over the edge. This has massively reduced the amount of time that I spend in DMs or the amount of time I actually spend on delivery. Both these two advancements mean that not only do I spend less time on delivery and acquisition, but I actually improve the experience for my clients because they can now get access to an AI version of me, which is basically the same thing, 24/7 for a fraction of the price of what it would cost them to basically pay me my consulting fees 24/7. Because those two advancements have essentially removed the two major bottlenecks from high ticket, that's why if my life depended on it, I had to hit $1 million in 2026 selling digital products, it would be high ticket recurring because I can get all of the benefits of high ticket and now with AI, none of the downsides. Now, if you want my personal one-on-one help designing and implementing something like this into your business, join my NetLife program. It's my private mentoring program where we build one flagship digital product that can maximize your leverage and scale. We installed a simple operating system that I use to crack $1 million with digital products. We also map out your numbers and dial everything in, like your offer, your distribution, delivery, so that it can actually scale. And I want to make it very clear, this is not a course. It's hands-on implementation. You get direct one-on-one access to me. We have weekly implementation calls. You get all of my SOPs. And you also get access to Chin AI, which is my custom assistant coach. It's built on decades of experience, over $64 million in sales generated from digital products, and it's tailored specifically to your business. You can use it between calls to stress test ideas, write copy, write emails, come up with entire funnels, everything that you need in between the time that we actually speak together, so that when we get on a call, we are diagnosing, we are fixing, and we're refining the stuff that Chin AI helped you build. NetLife is specifically for people that are serious about scaling to $1 million per year and are willing to put the work in. If you're lazy, if you're not into working hard, if you want to just go into chill mode, that's cool, but NetLife won't be for you. So if you're interested, just go ahead and DM me NetLife on Instagram. If you're not quite ready for that yet, but you want access to the resources and companion guide that goes with this video, I put a link to that in the description. So that's it from me in this video. I really hope you found it valuable. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit subscribe. Whether we choose to work together one-on-one or you go and you download some of the resources in the vault, or you just keep watching YouTube videos. However that is, I'm really honored to be able to help you and serve you on your path to cracking $1 million with your digital products. My name's Chin Gregory. God bless, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.